Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is our Week 4 team builder for the PMC Season number 2. I am the coach of the Baltimore Oriolus, and our opponent this week is the Cleveland Escavaliers, coached by our good friend Phantombass. Make sure you go check out his channel, and I'm sure he'll be putting up a team builder alongside this, and of course we'll be battling tomorrow. Make sure you guys check that out. Let's go over his team real quick. Phantombass has a Victini, Alamomola, Amoonguss, Mega Gallade, Gyarados, Snorlax, Sandslash, Togetic, Latios, Mismagius, and Magneton. So, several really big threats on his team, most notably Victini. Victini is a Pokemon that every team really needs to have an answer for. There's a couple of Pokemon that are, I wouldn't quite call them like over-centralizing, but they just have the ability to win games on their own if you don't have the right team matchup. Other Pokemon on his team that are really scary, Gallade can definitely be an issue if we let the wrong mons take damage. Latios is obviously a huge threat in every game. Something that's really frightening to me actually is the Snorlax. I don't think I have a great answer for that thing. There's some options that we have, but if I let it get too carried away with setting up, it can actually sweep my team. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop into our team of 6. Starting out with Blackhawk the Salamence, rocking a Yachi Berry with Earthquake, Thunderfang, Defrog, and Roost. We put mixed defenses into this thing. We need this Pokemon to take on, first and foremost, the Victini, and Earthquake should do a good bit of damage to that. We have Yachi Berry to live the Glaciate, that's why we have special defense investment. We have enough there to tank the combination of a Thunder and a Dazzling Gleam, actually. If you choose to go for Dazzling Gleam instead of Glaciate, if it goes for Glaciate, that does like less than 50% with the Yachi Berry, and the Thunder just doing like 35 to 40%. So even if we can't revenge it with the Earthquake, we can put it in range of a move from maybe the Tornadus, or put it in range of rocks or something like that. Thunderfang is for the Gyarados, which is the other Pokemon that Salamence really takes on well in this matchup. If the Gyarados is packing the Ice Fang, we do have that Yachi Berry for it. That's really the only way that the Gyarados can hit us particularly hard. It's true that it could go for something like Bounce, but I'm not all that worried about that. Roost is for longevity, Defog is in case we need to get rid of hazards in a pinch. I'd like to keep hazards up this game if possible to punish Pokemon like Victini, because if Salamence goes down, that's the only way I can kill them. So Salamence is a really important part of the team this week. Next up we have the Iroquois. For our good old friend Solid Snake over here with Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Heavy Slam, and Dragon Tail. Very similar spread to last week. Instead of investing 12 into defense, we invested 12 into speed. That's just to speed creep potential Amoonguss if he chooses to go for that. Rocks again are hugely important in this match, so I want to get those up as soon as possible. This thing checks a lot of Pokemon on the Escavaliers team. Like Latios has a hard time dealing with this thing. We can do a big chunk of damage to it with Heavy Slam, and it can, what else does it take on? I guess it could take one hit from Gyarados if it really needs to, but I prefer not to. What else? I'm blanking on his team. Yeah, so it does take on the Snorlax relatively well. Snorlax can't hit us up with something like Earthquake, which would be bad. It's a hard wall to Togetic, it's a hard wall to Magneton. It can even take a hit from Sandslash depending upon its spread. So yeah, the Steelix is just a really nice defensive Pokemon this week. I'm not running Rest on it like I was before. I decided to put Dragon Tail because, again, that Snorlax is just a huge threat. I can't afford to let that thing get to these huge number of boosts. Next up we have, making his season debut, Kalimvor the Spiritomb, with Pursuit, Sucker Punch, Foul Play, and Will-O-Wisp. This isn't exactly a Victini check, but if it takes out my Salamence with some combination of moves, I can bring in the Spiritomb, and depending upon what move he's locked into or what sort of spread he is, we can decide whether we want to go for Sucker Punch or Pursuit or whatever. And if we can trap that thing, that'll put us in a really good spot. I wish I could have found room on this set for something like Destiny Bond, but it just didn't make enough sense this week. We are running it physically defensive, in case he runs again, I think a physically defensive Victini. This is also a really, really hard check for Gallade. There's very little that Gallade can do to this thing, I guess short of like a knockoff. Luckily, knockoff is not stab, so it's not going to do a ton to us. And we can always Will-O-Wisp the Gallade. The bigger thing that I'm really worried about is like Will-O-Wisp Gallade, which he did bring last week in his match against, I apologize, I can't remember who he was playing, but he did bring a Will-O-Wisp Gallade, which is a really smart set, honestly. But yeah, we can, if we have our own Will-O-Wisp, we can threaten Pokemon like the Gallade that could otherwise set up on us, or like Gyarados, for example. Foul Play is also really nice for those Pokemon, because if they're going to set up Swords Dances or Dragon Dances, my Foul Play has, increased power, even if I land a Will-O-Wisp on them. That's one of the funny mechanics of Foul Play. If your opponent's burned, then it's fine, but if you're burned, you do less damage. So that's just something to keep in mind. Next up, I have a physically defensive Electros, Volt Switch, Giga Drain, Flamethrower, Super Fang. I felt like I just needed another answer to Pokemon like Magneton, and this can tank one hit if it needs from the Gyarados. We can Super Fang the Snorlax in case we need to do that. You don't see, I guess a lot of times you see Electros that are offensive with like Assault Vest, but I felt like the defensive set would just be better this week. Giga Drain hits the Sand Slash. That's the other nice thing, is that Sand Slash can't hit this thing particularly hard. I wish we outsped, but it's okay. Flamethrower for the Amoonguss. I also wanted this for the Alomomola, which I'm currently sort of lacking an answer for, because I don't have any status on my team besides the Will-O-Wisp. And, the Alomomola can really play around the Will-O-Wisp with very little problems. It could just Wish and then use Regenerator and whatever it needs to do. Toxic really would be the better way to deal with that thing, and since I'm lacking Toxic on this team, I decided to go with Electros. I wasn't really sure what else I wanted in this slot, but this seemed like this was definitely the last member that I selected, and it seemed like the best remaining option. Next up, now we're finally going to get into a little bit of offense. We have a Choice Scarf Sylveon, or Candy, with Hyper Voice, Psyshock, Shadow Ball, and Baton Pass. This should outspeed Latios with the spread after the Choice Scarf. I think we do that and a little bit more, because I think it hits like 178, 179. We get above 180 with this spread. But yeah, he doesn't have too many. I guess he has like Victini as a pretty decent Sylveon check. But I just really want to use this thing to force switches, and then I'd like to use it to try and get momentum with like Baton Pass and things like that. And the Scarf is just kind of a nice surprise. Like if I go for our Scarf Hyper Voice facing down a Gallade, I should be able to KO it. I should be able to KO a Latios. And things like that, and depending upon like what type of sets he brings, like even if he brings like a non-Eviolite Magneton, this could just still do a decent amount. We're still doing a decent amount to Sand Slash. Amoonguss is kind of more of a problem, but we do have Psyshock for that if we are anticipating the Amoonguss switch in. And that's the Sylveon set. I think the Spec set is certainly better, but I don't know, I wanted to mix it up this week. Then last but not least, we do have a Safety Goggles, Tenzin, our Tornadus Therian, Hurricane, Superpower, Knockoff, and U-Turn. I wanted to bring this Life Orb really, really badly. It's because he doesn't have a super good answer for it, other than maybe a Choice Scarf Magneton. But I needed something that could switch into a Amoonguss for free. And we can, obviously threaten that with the Hurricane. And really, we can just threaten anything on his team with a Hurricane. The Gallade doesn't want to switch in on this. Latios doesn't want to switch in. So this Boss just has a great matchup. And I love how Torn it's a Pokemon that I can really rely on every week. Something that I really like about it. That and Salamence I've brought like every single game. I've brought Sylveon to 3 out of 4 games now. And so, you know, I generally like to mix up my teams as much as possible, but it's always good when you have, okay, you know, what role do I need to fill this week? Okay, let's put Tornadus there. It's going to be the bulky Mon, or it's going to be the offensive Mon, or, you know, it's the utility Mon. It's really great. But yeah, this thing applies a lot of offensive pressure. Knockoff's really great. U-turn's great for momentum. And yeah, I think he's going to have a hard time handling this thing. So that is the team. I hope you guys enjoyed this team builder. The battle will be going up tomorrow, I think around 12 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you tune back for that. Once again, make sure you check out Phantombass's channel. I'll be leaving that down in the description below. Please be sure to check back to my channel for more Pokemon content and for this battle. So until the next time, I will see you guys later.